IAS Joint Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation, Government of India. Mr. K.G. Krishnamurthy, CEO and Managing Director, HDFC Property Fund. Members from the industry, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, vanakkam. I'd like to welcome you all for the Estate South 2012 conference on behalf of CII. This conference is also being supported by CREDAI. Southern India has for long been a silent crusader. Building and strengthening its real estate development is one of the most sought after in the country. Be it the commercial advantage of Bangalore, the infrastructural progress of Hyderabad, the industrial and residential highlights of Chennai, or the upcoming cities of Kochi, Coimbatore, Vizag, Mysore, and Bangalore for their ancillary trade support, the region has persistently strived for setting new milestones in the course of its development. Not only this, as per the Jones-Lang-LaSalle Transparency Index 2011, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka feature among the top 6 states when measured on transparency. The policies, reforms, and process changes are done proactively by the southern states. However, the shortage in South India still remains at an estimated 7+ million units. As the cities of southern India move ahead with the pace of a steam engine, it is imperative that they focus on areas that will help sustain growth, add to its competitive advantage, and increase its competitive lead. This conference is yet another initiative that aims at discussing short and long-term strategies that could go a long way in fortifying the real estate skyline of the southern states and to submit recommendations to respective state governments on the orderly growth of this sector. We will get an opportunity to hear the industry bigwigs as they get together for the Estate 2012 conference to share their experiences and throw light on the way forward. We will have the benefits of both their insight and their foresight. We've designed the program as 5 panel sessions, and I must admit that there has been a lot of background homework that's been done for the conference. We had an organizing committee that met several times to discuss the theme and the sessions, and then we agreed that they'll all be panel sessions. Then for each of the themes, we discussed and chose the moderator. Then there were several meetings with the moderators to choose the panelists, and another set of meetings between the moderators and the panelists so that these panel discussions are brief, concise, precise, meaningful, and relevant. And I hope that you will have the benefit of this. Today, 50% of the world's population lives in urban areas. In India, it is less than 30%. 1/3 of India's population accounts for 2/3 of India's GDP and 90% of government's revenue. Urbanization is a must for urban growth. In the next 10 years, 140 million additional people will move to urban areas. Just to give you an impact of urbanization, India's GDP is $1.3 trillion. The GDP of the city of New York is $1.1 trillion. My vision is to see the Indian real estate industry as a strong, organized, vibrant, respected, and sustainable business. This vision is not a prediction, but a strong belief in what we can achieve by mobilizing the human, technological, and financial resources for a common, inclusive, better tomorrow. This calls for a coordinated effort and focus from each of the key stakeholders of the sector: government, developers, investors, banks, and consumers. I have worked in many industries: steel, power, telecom services, telecom technology. But I must admit that whereas in terms of engineering, real estate is the simplest, but in terms of complexity and complications, it ranks number one. Earlier in my job as chairman of Tata Tele, I felt like an F1 driver. I sat in my sports car and I knew the road was clear. I had to do so many rounds in the shortest possible time, roll out the networks, get the consumers, and make business sustainable and viable. Here, I feel like a hunter in a jungle, with a fading torchlight and an outdated rifle, with no clear track in front of me and no idea what danger awaits me. It is what it is. Real estate is a highly interdependent business. It requires teamwork of people who are not in the same team. A major problem. It requires teamwork of people who are not on the same team. And since it is a team game, I have chosen 11 points that I believe deserve our attention. I have often told my team that we have to think like we are an orchestra. Everybody has to play their part at the same time. Today I feel in real estate, it's like an orchestra. It's like Zubin Mehta conducting an orchestra. The drummer plays now, the guitarist plays after 10 minutes, and the saxophonist maybe the next day. You can't run an orchestra that way. And I think that's our challenge, is the high interdependence that must be synchronized. And synchronization of these multiple actions, I think, is what makes this industry challenging and interesting. So here are my 11 key points I wish to share with you. In brief, 1. India should strive to establish master plan strategies. The future cities of India should be enabled to manage urban development, avoid urban sprawl, focus on a balance between built-up area and open space, between successful urban growth and livability, and between urban and rural space. In this context, the concept of polycentric spatial development, or polycentricity, is closely linked to the idea of sustainable urban development. Polycentric refers to the outward diffusion of major cities to smaller cities over a wider area and focuses on the local linkages that arise in this process. Wuhan, a large and fast developing city in China with over 8 million people, is a fine example of a polycentric urban network. The cities of Istanbul in Turkey and Arnhem in Netherlands have also adopted a similar plan for urban development. 2. We in the corporate world fully understand and implement a very basic principle: structure follows strategy. We change the structure of our organization based on the situation and the strategies we adopt. The same should be true for India, Inc. and for the Government of India. The PM and the powers that meet should need to reorganize the ministries so that desired goals are achieved. Today, inter-ministerial coordination and alignment is a major challenge. 3. Looking into the future, corrective and steering action needs to be made in aspects of accountability, development of safety standards, standardized quality of construction, increased use of technology, and sustainable development. And quality control should not be limited to one-time assessment during construction, but it should include maintenance and the life cycle of the asset. 4. Skill development and capacity building is a key success factor. At present, there are very few training institutes that offer specialized courses for the real estate sector. We need trained manpower across the property life cycle. Some suggested steps are a model education curriculum for training on skill development, codification and dissemination of education material and best practices, continuing professional education, expanding the student base and increasing the awareness of the youth, and strengthening the fraternity of the real estate professionals. 5. If the Indian real estate sector is to flourish, it must move towards a regime of simplified regulatory and approval processes. Some feel that bringing approvals under one roof is a Herculean task, simply because of multiplicity of regulations. However, if India is ready to take on the mammoth challenge of creating the unique identification authority, single window clearance should not be a distant dream. 6. India's challenge is not only to improve its existing infrastructure, but also to build new infrastructure to keep up with its fast economy and population. According to official estimates, India's GDP growth could be 2 percentage points higher but for the shortcomings in infrastructure. More projects in the public-private partnership model are called for. 7. The Indian real estate industry must keep an eye on technological innovations to realize its aspirations. The more receptive the industry gets for technological innovation, the greater will be the speed of change. Technology should be used for construction, e-governance, project planning, monitoring, and facility management. 8. Real estate and its ancillary industries account for more than half the world's energy consumption and hence generate far more greenhouse gas emission than any other industry. Building real estate is also about building the future. Sustainable development will soon be a must-do rather than a nice-to-do. The sooner we as an industry embrace green buildings, green townships, the better it would be for us and for society. 9. The real estate sector is a textbook example of large-scale information asymmetry. Information in this sector is scanty, outdated, and unreliable. A strong push is required, particularly in the areas of land and title records and transaction information. 10. The real estate sector currently lacks any monetization vehicle for capital-intensive vehicles, such as commercial offices and retail malls. A possible solution is in the form of real estate investment trusts and real estate mutual funds. This needs to be introduced in the Indian market ASAP. And finally, what we need in the real estate sector is a quality called resilience. Why do some people, why do some companies, why do some countries break under pressure while others bend and bounce back? More than education, more than training, more than experience, it is resilience that makes the difference between failure and success. The good news is that resilience can be learnt. We need 3 characteristics. 1, the staunch acceptance of reality. It is what it is. B, a deep belief, often buttressed by strongly held values, that life is meaningful. And C, an uncanny ability to innovate and improvise. We need all 3 to charter a global course for the real estate industry. And this resilience quality has actually held this industry here, in spite of all the challenges, with a simple 2-word philosophy: don't quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you are trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but please don't quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. and many a person turns about when they might have won had they stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You might succeed with another blow. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup, and he learned too late when the night came down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit. Thank you.